Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have updates to share about what's going on in the Georgia investigation, some really big news. There was more evidence just leaked regarding the alleged crimes committed in Georgia. This was in regard to Trump's attempted coup. I recently shared with you guys that Republican officials in Georgia are being accused of being involved in an alleged conspiracy. Well, now more video evidence was leaked. This was from inside the Georgia election office, and it's looking more and more like these people are going to get popped for not just conspiracy, but also lying under oath, a whole plethora of crimes. Jefe, don't you know what a plethora is? Anyway, sorry, I couldn't resist. I love the Three Amigos. Here's the deal. Kathy Latham, as I mentioned in the previous video, she was the chairwoman of the Georgia Republican Party, and she swore under oath that she had nothing to do with the voting equipment being illegally accessed and the data being compromised and copied. She also claimed that she was only in the election office for a few minutes. This was after she got off work. She works at the local high school as a teacher. And Latham specifically said in her sworn deposition that on the day of the equipment breach, quote, "I didn't go into the office." Now, in my last video, I shared with you guys that was already debunked. She was seen on surveillance camera. She was entering and exiting the building. She entered and exited twice that day. She was there for many hours, so we knew she was inside. Well, now the interior surveillance video has been released, and it's pretty damning. It shows Latham inside the building talking with the people who illegally accessed the voting equipment. At one point, she was sitting directly across from them and watching while they were examining equipment. And in one portion of the video, she was seen leading them to where they would commit their alleged crimes. And she was introducing them to election officials, including Eric Cheney. However, during her deposition, Latham was specifically asked if these so-called forensic experts met with Cheney, and she said, quote, "I have no idea." Latham was even seen on video taking a selfie with one of these so-called experts. Yet Latham said under oath that she had no idea who these people were. She had no idea who, not just who they were, but what they were doing in the office. She claimed that, I wasn't paying attention. She said that she stayed on the other side of a partition from whoever these people were. Latham said, quote, "There were people in there, and I get uncomfortable when there's others." She also said in her deposition that one of these people, a man named Scott Hall, he's a businessman, pro-Trump guy, he paid for, I believe, the flights down there, or he lent his private jets or something. Anyway, she said that he left after her. So she had no idea how long he stayed. He left after me. Well, the video shows him shaking her hand on his way out. She stayed, by the way, for almost 2 hours after he left. So her attorneys are making the argument that, this was almost 2 years ago. She just doesn't remember. She's not lying. She just doesn't remember everything. Really? Really? You can't remember meeting numerous people and covertly allowing them to copy voting equipment for an election that you claim that was stolen. And then her attorney said that Latham went to the election office after work, quote, to check in on some voter review panels from the runoff election. So she remembers that detail, but yet phone calls, text messages, in-person meetings and conversations with human beings, and leading them directly to the voting equipment that they then accessed illegally. Nope, no recollection whatsoever. Have no idea. So now they have a new argument. Their argument now is that all of this was legal because Georgia election officials authorized it. They said that this was, quote, less of a breach or criminal undertaking and more of a permissible exercise of the county elections board's authority. The parties involved plainly believed that they had the authority to authorize it and the authority to do it. And that belief seems to be at least reasonable and likely accurate, which negates any possible criminal intent. Really? So they believed this was all okay, right? Okay, so why hide it? If this was all legit, why would you keep it a secret, or why would you then lie about it? Here's an example. The Eric Cheney that I mentioned previously, he was the head of the elections board. So if anyone had legal authority to allow this search and seizure of voting data, it would be Cheney, right? He's the head of the board. Well, back in May, when the Washington Post reached out to him and asked him about outside groups accessing this equipment, Cheney said, don't know anything about it. He claimed he didn't even know who this Scott Hall guy was. And he said, I wasn't there. Nope, wasn't there when it happened. Don't know this guy, Scott Hall. Don't know anything about this. In fact, Cheney said, I remember stopping by the office and seeing, quote, people present unknown to me. He said he thought they were with the Secretary of State's office. You're the head of the elections board and you don't get clarification of who's there. You don't ask. You don't inquire. Who's looking at our equipment? Yeah, well, the video evidence proves that he's full of shit. It shows that he was present throughout most of the day when this was all going down, and he was seen talking with Hall and Sullivan Strickler employees. So that's one of the companies you might recall that accessed and copied the election machine data. And here's what's really going to do him in. When Cheney was deposed under oath, he repeatedly cited his Fifth Amendment rights not to incriminate himself. Why? If you did nothing wrong, I mean, that's not something you would do if you did nothing wrong, right? If you had the legal authority to authorize others to access these machines. And here's a huge issue for Latham and this Cheney guy and all the rest of these people. Their alleged co-conspirators are not going to cover for them. An executive from Sullivan Strickler told investigators that Latham described herself as an elections official. He also said under oath, quote, Kathy Latham also provided direction on what was required for collection. And an attorney for Sullivan Strickler told the court that Latham was, quote, a primary point of contact in coordinating and facilitating what went down that day, what they did with the machines. This Sullivan Strickler firm, by the way, is a grand jury witness in the Georgia investigation. These people are screwed. So she's saying, don't know who they were. I was there. I don't know what was going on. Have no idea. I mean, how many times does her story changed, first of all? But you've got video evidence. How stupid are these people to not know that there are cameras in government buildings, in and around government buildings? It's the same thing with January 6th. Oh my God. And this woman is a teacher. First of all, she's claiming she has no memory of something so major happening less than 2 years ago. And then she's giving all these various stories and saying all of these things that are so implausible that it really appears she's lying. And she's so ignorant of the fact that there are cameras in and around government buildings. This is a woman who's teaching your children in Georgia. Let that sink in for a minute. Anyway, guys, when I hear more, I'll let you know. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.